We love horror movies from the 70s and 80s, and we watch them for 2 days straight, and then we go write a book. Now we're looking back at every title, one at a time, in this podcast that we put out monthly. Once we've had an episode for every movie, it's time to meet up for another Shock Marathon. All right, folks, the red light is red, which means we're recording another exciting edition of the Shock Marathons podcast. I'm Matt Farley, here with Tom Scalzo.
Hello.
And Charlie Roxburgh.
Hey.
We're discussing a film called Play Dead, which is something else. We're just gonna delve right into it. I mean, it opens with a slow motion shot of a dog eating and killing a person over scary music in opening credits.
Yes.
What is that, Charlie? What is that? Just a random attack?
I think so. I think it's like a stuntman who was the easiest person to get attacked. The filmmakers were like, let's just have the dog bite you a little bit. We'll slow-mo it, and because as far as I know, that doesn't tie into the story, but Tom might know.
Tom?
I thought it was either outtakes from the final killing, or like or a brighter version or something. It had the same vibe, and I thought I saw some clothing or something that represented. I don't want to give away the ending yet.
No,
but
give it away. It's fine.
It felt like I don't even remember her name, Yvonne De Carlo's character. It felt like it was that
Hester
scene.
Yeah,
but like with more light.
And with a skinnier guy, like that's a tough call.
It could have been it could have been some takes early on to get that shot right or something that they end up using.
Yeah,
or...
so what we're saying here is it's the opening scene has nothing to do with the plot of the movie. Like
No.
Charlie, go.
And we go right to a funeral right after it, where you think, okay,
it must be related, but no.
Of the guy who just died, and it's a woman in the casket who does not look like the person who was just killed.
Oh, no. And now speaking of this stupid funeral, I am so uninterested in the drama within this family. And frankly, I've seen the movie twice now. I don't know all the dynamics within this with this family.
It's not that complicated.
It isn't? Charlie, explain it to me.
Well, they try to explain it to you when Audrey says, "Didn't you feel anything for her, my mother?" gesturing towards the dead body right there. Yeah. It's like, oh, such ham-fisted screenwriting.
What's the money situation? Why does Hester want everyone dead?
Well, the only thing we can come up with is the family fortune somehow resides with the mother who just died, with her side of the family. So if her kids are out of the way, then Hester's the only one left.
But Hester seems to have all the money that she could want. I thought Hester...
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It seems to me that Hester has all the money until she dies, at which point Audrey gets it. So Hester has no reason to be wanting to kill Audrey because Hester's twice her age.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Unless she's trying to be eternal through her dog. demon dog.
Oh, this movie.
There's so many problems. They should have stopped writing right there and say, like, wait, we gotta fix that first page.
We have to rewrite this entire movie. This is everything we've done so far is unnecessary. Okay. So we get to see Hester dealing with Audrey.
Wait.
Yeah, okay, Charlie.
And Audrey, there's just to describe it a little more. There's tension. Audrey's very sad, and Hester is not very tender or gentle in this time of her sadness. But Audrey gets mad and says, "I'll never forgive her." Talking about Hester,
right?
And she forgives her the first time she sees her.
You're
the
right,
next time in the movie. That's like from another movie. I'll never forget this. You won't give my mother peace in death. And then later they have tea.
Yeah, they're very happy little tea party. Tom, what did you have?
Well, just an observation from the funeral that I found very amusing is countless people are coming up and like shaking the
Yes.
hands of people, and they're so like sincere, and it looks like they're having conversations, but nothing is heard. And then
Yes.
all of a sudden you hear Audrey and her brother talking, and like nothing. It's not like it was like some sort of a scene that there wasn't any audio, and then all of a sudden they cut to a close up. It's the same exact shot, and all of a sudden you can hear them talking.
It's like a
Yeah.
It's like
play
everyone's
almost.
like miming the conversations.
It's what would
great.
happen up on stage, sort of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, unnecessary miming. It's always a mistake in movies. Show us what people are saying, even if it's incidental, I say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's no
anyway,
reason-
Audrey and her boyfriend and her brother are all sad about the fact that Audrey's mom died, and there's some tension with Hester. That's the general situation.
Yeah.
And now we're done with the funeral, and Charlie.
Last thing.
Yeah.
So Audrey's mom has passed away, and she's
Correct.
there in the coffin.
Yes.
Hester goes over
Puts
with
a
her
trinket,
evil
a little
with
trinket,
her evil
yeah.
amulet thing. Does she want to like double kill her or like rub it in or something? She's already dead. What are you
Yeah.
gonna achieve with that?
Yeah. Does it have something to do with how she's manipulating the dog? I don't think it does.
And camera zooms in on it, and it's just sitting there.
Never is it mentioned again.
Never.
No,
Oh my God.
no. But
Nice.
it is hinted later of her cause of death. I don't know if you guys
Tell us.
noted that. Some sort of suicide. So the implication is that Hester drove her to it somehow.
Okay, there's so little happening in this movie that they could have started with that. Why not show her killing her sister?
Yeah.
You know,
That would be much better.
much better than just scene after scene of nothing. Yeah. So things get worse. That scene was entertaining compared to Hester at home with Greta the dog. Everything is going to be beautiful. We understand the power, you and I. We know now, don't we, Greta girl? She says to Greta. And now, Miss Ramsey's talking to a picture of Sam, who's dead. Now, Sam was her brother, and Sam was married to the dead lady. Is that it?
Sam is her brother-in-law.
Oh, was there?
She liked Sam.
Yeah, she liked Sam.
So she's going on about what could have been if Sam had lived. And
Yeah.
and we get a really boring slow motion shot of the old lady swaying, and it flashes to memories of Sam, a dapper young man.
It's horrible.
At which point Stephen shows up. So Stephen is Audrey's brother,
Right.
and they have a terribly dull conversation. Yes, Charlie.
My note says old lady reminiscing equals bad. And it goes on for a long time.
Oh, this movie is so bad. Wow.
So
But it's good. It's kind of
oh, it's not
it's a
that
movie.
bad.
It's a movie, yeah.
Yeah, it's an afternoon. If it's on, you're not unhappy. It's got it's got a good look to it.
And I like puzzling over the things that don't pay off.
I hear you. Like, yeah. Tom, did you have more to say, or are you good?
Well, I mean, this is just I read into everything way too much, but I got the feeling like that Hester always felt like if she and Sam could have got together, she could have had Audrey and the brother as her kids. It could have been her life, and that's really what she wanted more than having a lot of money. And so all this that she goes through is kind of vengeance for not getting the life
so
she
yeah,
wants.
so it's not so much that she wants that she's killing them so she gets the fortune. She's killing them because it's the life she should have had, I guess. Yeah, I mean that makes more sense, but that is not spelled out very well in this film.
No, you gotta
It
kind of
seemed
just make it up.
Like if Yvonne De Carlo, that's the actress playing Hester, right?
Yep.
It seems they didn't have her for very long, which is hard to believe that she would have been in demand, though.
Yeah, but if you're a star from yesteryear, you can't get out of your mind that you're not in demand, probably,
Yes.
and you still think of yourself that way.
I'll only work 3 days, she said. And they're
Yeah,
like, all right,
right.
fine, we'll deal with it. She has nothing to do the day after filming, but she's
And just while we're talking about her, like her interactions with the dog are the most awkward things I've ever seen. And she's like playing catch at one point with the dog. And she like kind of bounces a tennis ball. It's horrible. She like does not want to be there.
So now Greta's dropped off by her obedience school teacher, who says she did a great job. Yes.
It's a more exciting movie than you'd think.
Of all the dogs to ever need to be trained, why do you need to train a dog that you can control with magic powers?
Yeah.
The dog does her bidding. That's what you want an obedient dog to do.
So Hester sends Greta the dog to obedience school before engaging in the black magic in the seance room, and that's potentially the most boring moment of the movie, with like the dark arts being practiced. Oh, I could not stand that.
Yeah.
Thankfully, that scene ends. Hester goes to Audrey's house. This is the moment Charlie mentioned where suddenly they're kind of like friends again. But I get the feeling that Hester's manipulating Audrey, and yes, she is. What do we learn? We learn, yes, like Tom said, Audrey. No, not Audrey. The old lady was in love with Sam before Sam married Audrey's mom. And was Audrey's mom Hester's sister? I think that was the case, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the situation. Old Hester's mad that her sister married Sam, and
Right.
therefore she, like, 35 years later, she kills her sister, and then uses a dog to ruin the life of the children. That's the story, right?
It's the same old story. I've heard it 100 times.
What has she been doing for the 30 years since she was jilted?
I don't know. I think
Studying
no.
the black arts.
Oh shit! Tom's got it.
I have, I can't get all the details straight exactly, but I think what she was hoping was that the wife would die first, and then she would have a life with Sam. But Sam died unexpectedly first, and that's when she began her reign of terror. No, it's there.
Hester, just kill the wife. Kill your sister when you're 20.
Well, she was waiting. She was waiting for it to naturally resolve itself.
And then
But it didn't work.
All right. So then Hester gives Audrey the dog as a gift, and Audrey's like, "Oh, cool, thanks."
This huge, gigantic dog, which is gonna like take over my apartment and
end your life. Yeah.
just doesn't give us a second of thought. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I own a dog now. Like, there's no personality. The main character, I guess, is Audrey. She's got no personality.
And it's so showy how the Hester keeps saying that the dog is from Europe, like a couple times. Like, I'm fancy.
Yeah.
My dog is from Europe. It's a rare breed called the Doberman. He's from Europe. He's from Europe. Oh, be quiet.
So now we get to watch some guys jogging.
Oh, good scene. Good generic scene.
Tommy Wiseau was taking notes.
Oh, do you have those lines, Farley?
I don't have any lines. Let's hear them.
Okay. Got some tickets for the game tonight. Want to come? That's like the first thing that they said. He doesn't even say what sport it is. It's just like got some
so
tickets.
Vague, yeah.
And then they're like just talking about girls and stuff. And one guy says to the other, "She'll be more fun after the game than I'd be."
Oh yeah, haha, locker room humor and
locker room joke. And they're jogging, super fake,
wonderfully
super fake. Yeah, wonderful.
So it turns out one of the joggers is Audrey's brother, and he goes to visit Audrey. He laments to her that none of the girls he dates can cook as well as she can, and la-di-da. It's a great moment of brother and sister bonding. Charlie.
You know the line?
No.
Okay, so she says, "That's because the girls you go with spend more time in the bedroom than the kitchen."
Yeah, which is uncomfortable.
Don't talk about that, you two. That's just weird. It's not funny. It's weird.
It's very weird. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it's funny, as he leaves, she notices that Greta's not around and thinks nothing of it. Like the dog that I just got this afternoon, like, oh, I'm sure Greta will come to this home that she doesn't know is her new home, Like, oh well.
Yep.
So the brother finds Greta, like, hanging out by his car, which is awesome.
In his car.
In his car. She's just sitting there waiting. And so Greta knew that he'd have to get under the hood. How did Greta know that?
I don't know.
Okay, so maybe Greta was doing some like hot wiring of the car or something while he was having dinner, but she's worked it out in such a way that she knew he was gonna look under the hood. And then when he comes back into the seat towards the driver's side, she lunges out, and he falls back and is struck by a car. And then, for good measure, Greta knocks the car out of park so that it rolls down the hill.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, Charlie, your thoughts on that moment?
Oh, wow. Well, they did mention that his car had car trouble. So if there is some kind of black magic power involved, it's possible that Greta heard that, or Hester heard it through Greta, like Beastmaster style, and then that
happening.
Info transferred back to Hester so she could plan this way. But a funny thing here I found, it's like the first of many killings where it doesn't matter that the dog is big and strong or not.
Right, it's just got to be cunning. It doesn't. It could
just
be a
has
tiny
to pounce
dog.
out.
Yeah,
and then there's other parts too where she just moves things with her snout. It's like it doesn't have to be this Doberman. It's just for the movie's benefit, It's like pretty funny.
So Tom, is Hester watching all of this from her dark lair? Is that what
Yeah.
we're? Yeah,
I think so.
and she's practically controlling it like with a joystick, like a video game almost.
Yeah, I think that's the idea.
That's hilarious. That she's like presumably just in her dark lair, watching as Greta watches Audrey like read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so
I love this change of tone here that you're gonna get into. Just
so immediately it's post funeral, right? We don't see the funeral or anything. It's just Audrey and Jeff. That's her boyfriend. They return from the brother's funeral. In my notes, I wrote I think, because it's so vague.
That's right.
And what do? They share a glass of wine by the fire, with the boom mic hovering over their heads in the living room. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Sure.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. And there's no reason for it to be there because there's no dialogue. It's the best part.
And then Greta watches as they disrobe and get intimate, and it's just out of nowhere, and lots of shots of their hands on each other with some lounge music on the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Oh, it's very much. I mean, first off, she just buried her brother, and there's already a fire burning in the fireplace too, right? As they come home, the fire is burning.
It's Rager.
And there's nudity, and it's uncomfortable. I think it's Charlie. You think it's a different actress too, not Audrey, right?
Probably for the insert, it's a body double. But
and just lots of hands on flesh, and
a lot longer of a scene than you think it should be.
Yeah,
lots of hands and really nice. Like that lounge music is amazing. It's like department store.
Yeah.
Browsing the aisles music. It's nice. It's nice.
It's nice.
Yeah. it's a nice moment. It's odd though, because it really feels like before that happens, like this could have been a made-for-TV movie,
Yeah, you're so right. It's so G-rated, really, and then they just insert this. Maybe it was initially planned to be for TV.
Yeah, distributors or someone, a money person along the line said, "Hey, you got to put this in there."
Yeah.
It's so tacked on. It's so tacked on and so uncomfortable to see, like her hands, like just like rubbing his belly and stuff. It's just like,
yeah, it's
stop.
weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
Please stop.
It goes on forever.
So I write, Greta seems to be physically sending messages back to Hester, who is sacrificing a dove in her black magic room. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's hilarious.
It doesn't tie in with anything.
Might as well just kill this dove. I guess we're led to believe that that's part of. In order to control a dog, you have to kill a dove every once in a while. Tom.
Well, then eventually she feeds Hester, Hester feeds the dog, the blood or something.
Okay.
I don't know why, but there is some eventual use, I guess.
That's delightful.
So then
we get to watch a police car do a full 3-point turn before stopping to help a detective with a broken down car. The detective takes okay, so this is how we're introduced to the old grizzled veteran detective and his young college friend. And I guess I read my notes. I guess this is a funny way of introducing the detective, right, Charlie?
Yeah, his name's Otis, and he's just supposed to be very like a wise old cop who just does what he wants, and he likes to tell the young guys what's what.
Oh yeah, he takes the guy's car, right? Like he takes his partner's car. He's like,
It's not his partner. It's just a random patrol officer. Random patrol officer that he comes across. He doesn't have his partner with him at that moment.
Okay.
His partner is also a detective who doesn't wear a uniform.
Okay. Yeah, but I guess it's a delightful moment, but
it's a similar feeling because they're both younger than him, and he just kind of says, "Hey, you do this," and
he does what he wants. You like that guy, Charlie? Tell us about this guy, Otis,
well,
Detective Otis.
He has a lot of energy, which at this point in the movie, honestly, it's the best thing going for it.
Yeah, we need energy because everything is so bland.
It looks like he wants to be in the movie, which is good. And he's a bit older, which makes for unconventional, like hero type character, sort of like the Blood Cult Sheriff, who's one of my all-time favorite actors.
Yeah, older actors are so much better. I don't want these young, fresh-faced, boring main characters. I want Detective Otis.
Yeah, like older ones who aren't famous and who are willing to do anything. He's willing to eat during a scene. He's willing to just like chuckle a little bit and tell a little story. You know, he's charming.
So good old Detective Otis. He's got suspicions about the death of the brother, and but before we can get deep into that, we have to check in with Hester, who is dancing in the mirror again. Just got to check in with her. The movie really just goes from basically Audrey's house, detective, Hester's house. Audrey's house, detective, Hester. We just keep checking in with these characters, and the one I want to see the least is Hester. Tom, your thoughts?
I think my favorite is when the detective is standing outside Hester's house, just listening for noises. That's the best.
And then he has to like explain himself when she catches him too, right?
Just things like that just keep like there's scenes like, you know, there's like you said, there's only like 3 settings, and they try and like fill up the time with like people just standing around listening.
So much of the movie is just filling up time. It's amazing.
Right. The actor must have been like, "So what am I doing here?" And the director's like, "You're listening for noises. Probable cause. It's not in your jurisdiction to go with it. So you're listening."
So we get to meet the other detective, the younger guy, who's he's college educated, unlike Otis, and that causes for some back and forth, right, Charlie?
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of that. Oh, you went to college, boy. Did they teach you about psychology up there and this and that? He's got a very down-home way about him, the old detective. He also says about Hester, she's got no kinfolk, which was a highlight for me.
Then we get to see Audrey and her fiance out for lunch, out on the town for lunch, and she's carrying a balloon, which is awesome. Yeah,
it looks like a commercial for a shopping center in 1981. Like, come on down to Pacific Gardens where we've got a jewelry shop, balloons, the latest cafe options. Anyway,
near the end of the lunch, the fiance says, "I really should have taken the day off too, if it wasn't for what they say, pressing business."
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Oh, that was just what a line! Like,
so written,
written.
Yeah. That's great.
If it wasn't for what they say, pressing. Wow, that is
Oh,
That is beautiful stuff.
you can't do that and then say something that's just normal. Pressing
Yeah.
business is pressing business. It's not a euphemism. There's no like little. He would have had to set a bit of lingo from his job that some normal person wouldn't understand.
I know. Yeah. So again, and that whole lunch was just killing time. Also, nothing came of it. But anyway, now we get to see Detective Otis and his partner have a dull interrogation with Hester. Hester says incredulously, "Homicide? What are you talking about? I thought it was an accident. I read it in the newspaper." So that was a good moment by the fine actress Yvonne De Carlo. Is she famous, Tom? Like, what is she a name? I've heard her name, but I don't know why.
She's a name, yeah. I can't place the film she's been in, but she's a name.
Oh, she's like a George Kennedy, I guess.
No, she's not. She's not up to George Kennedy
Okay,
level.
I take it back.
Let's be real.
She's in another Shock movie, right, Tom? She's in
yeah, I'm looking up right now. I forget.
the one with the cover that you used to like, Farley. You used to see it when you were a kid on the shelves. The VHS.
American Gothic? That's her?
I think.
Oh yeah,
I
you're
think
right.
so.
She's
Mhm.
horrible.
Oh, and she was in the Monsters. That's her main thing.
Oh, she's from the Monsters in the 60s.
Yeah, she was the wife, I think.
That's her thing. That's her claim to fame. That's beautiful. All right, now we get a boring scene of Audrey and the fiancé trying to feed the dog. Now Audrey says she's going to take a shower. Fiancé says that's okay as long as I'm invited, and we get to see some tan lines, which is unpleasant. Now I'm all confused here. So the dog opens the sliding door. They put the dog out, but then the dog can just open up. Greta can just walk in and out as she pleases, pretty much, right, Charlie?
Yeah, I think so.
So then she goes and turns out the lights. Someone rings the doorbell, but they're not able to answer it. I don't know who it is. Is it the girl who needs to take a bath, Tom? Is that who is ringing the bell?
I think so.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Like, so little happens in this movie that, like, they had to complicate it further. Not just that the girl needs a bath, but that she initially can't get Audrey's attention.
Yeah, that initial switch off, I think, of the breaker was just a setup for unsafer bathroom conditions to come with the hairdryer or curling iron that falls in.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's so unnecessarily complicated.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So meanwhile, we get to check in with the cops. They're trying to recreate the death of the brother. I can't see how the car would push him into the street, says the assistant cop. But frankly, I don't know what they're talking about. It seems realistic to me that he, if it got loose, if the car started moving, he would jump out of the way and then get hit by another car.
Well, their working theory is he would have tried to stop the car from rolling just by holding it.
That's a terrible theory.
No, I don't know who would do that, but that's their working theory. It's like, well, he obviously could have stopped it, so he must have tried to.
So it's funny, like they're right, but the way that they've come to this correct opinion is wrong.
Yeah, they just got lucky.
So the shower scene was completely unnecessary. It just happened just to fill up more time, I guess, and to almost show nudity.
Tan lines.
Some tan lines, some uncomfortable tan lines. Then, so then Monique, Audrey's friend, comes over to take a bath. So now at this point, the boyfriend is left. I feel like it's a considerable time later that Monique finally gets to come over. Charlie?
I think so. I think she has a date or something to go to, so maybe she...
So she came over to Audrey's, rang the doorbell, nothing happened, went back, and then a few hours later is trying again.
Perhaps.
So, but what a scenario. She's out of hot water at her place, and Audrey says, "You're welcome to my hot water anytime you have a plumbing problem."
That's wonderful. I love that.
It's really great.
So, listeners, just take a moment to take this in. Yes, there's a plot point where the girl across the street needs to come over and take a bath. That's up there with the girl needing the shower in Ants, you know?
Yeah, this is potentially even better because that in Ants is really just kind of a way to get that character introduced, but this is like a central plot point that's focused on for quite a while.
So Monique, like we said, has a date tonight, and she's got to clean up. And of course, Greta drops the curling iron in the tub and kills Monique, who will not live to go on her date. Tom, tell us about that murder scene. How do you like it?
It's actually pretty good. It's kind of, she's like, "Oh, stop it!" Like, because Greta comes in and picks up the curling iron in her mouth, and Monique's like, "Hey, put that down. I don't want to play." Like, she thinks Greta wants to play fetch or something. Like, don't put that. Don't just put that down. Put that down. And she doesn't occur to her, that she's a pawn of evil, obviously. So, and then it's kind of like part of it's slow motion, I think, when she comes and drops it in the water. It's actually kind of pretty well set up.
Is it that deadly in the movies? That I remember Slumber Party Massacre 3 also has someone die from that in the bathtub. Is it that instant death, Charlie? I don't know that you would know the answer to this, but I'm asking you anyway.
Maybe.
You drop a hairdryer in the tub, it's over?
Maybe if the circuit doesn't go off and the electricity just keeps going, maybe you can't get out in time.
All right.
Maybe you don't have control. But
you had more to say though.
Yeah, do you guys have any idea about why poor Monique gets killed by Greta? Of all the people, someone who Hester has never met, might not even know exists.
That is such a good point. Why is Monique being murdered? And the only explanation is that Hester wants to frame Audrey for several murders. But why? So she kills the brother, but is only framing Audrey. And why? Why doesn't she just kill Audrey, Tom?
I don't know exactly. I feel like it's almost she's more like trying to drive her insane rather than trying to frame her. Right. But I don't know why that is the case either.
This movie is ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Greta takes the curling iron out of the tub in an attempt to destroy the evidence.
Yeah. Yes.
That's beautiful. So detective interviews Audrey at the scene of the crime. Audrey starts piecing things together in regards to Greta's involvement. How did Greta get back in? Why was Greta removing the curler from the tub? Wow, this movie is something else. It's a remarkably relaxed crime scene. The detective is extremely understanding with Audrey. She even asks if he thinks she's involved, and he says, "Nah." But it is a bit strange that there are two deaths, and you've been the last to see each victim, and the dog.
Yeah, it's magic.
But it's like at the crime scene, they're just like leaned back in the couch, just having a nice little conversation, Charlie.
Yeah, love it. With the main suspect. It's cool.
Then Hester takes Greta to get her shots, which really means she's doing more voodoo with her. Is that where she gets the dove blood, Tom?
I think so. It's all that part's a little hazy, but I think so.
She gets fed a bloody plate of something. Yeah.
So then the detective gets his hands on Greta somehow, and takes him to a dog specialist who says this dog couldn't kill anyone.
Yeah, and then there's this weird ominous music cue over a shot of the trainer.
Yeah,
as the detective's walking away.
Yes, that's what I wrote here. Scene ends with a potentially meaningless close-up of the dog expert. And now
that potential is fulfilled. That shot is meaningless and confusing.
Is that dog expert the same dog trainer from earlier in the movie, perhaps?
Yep.
It's the same guy?
I think so. I have a suspicion that somehow that dog training company was involved with either not necessarily funding the movie, but helping them to get access to the dog, or they knew somebody and he wanted to show them prominently in the movie, because when that trainer's van pulls up first, they focus on the door for no good reason. That shows the company's name.
I would love it if they were the backers of this film.
Oh, I know.
All right, now, did you guys notice a microphone in the foreground in the park when Audrey, by the tree where Audrey realizes she forgot her wallet? You guys notice that?
I didn't see that.
There's a lot of microphones in this movie.
A lot of microphones. I couldn't tell if it was a microphone or something else, but That's a fun one. Probably the best death in the movie is that one. So the boyfriend's sitting at the tree waiting for Audrey to go back and get her wallet, and Greta takes that opportunity to wrap her chain around the tree and the boyfriend, thus murdering the boyfriend. That was good, right, Tom?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. I mean, it's it's one of those things. He's like, it's kind of like the Monique in the tub. It's totally, she's not expecting anything to happen. He's kind of falling asleep. He lets the chain fall out of his hand a little bit. He's not really paying attention. It's not like you're running away from Jason. Something could happen. This is like
he's just napping. And
he's
dog
totally off his guard. Yeah,
him.
yeah.
So then Greta, I like how Greta comfortably returns to a nice relaxed pose by the dead guy's side. That's fun. Greta is evil, but I sympathize with Greta because it's not her, it's Hester doing all this stuff.
Right.
And then poor Audrey discovers him and wails, "No, no, no." The doctor determines that he was choked by someone with one hand because Greta wrapped the rope around him in such a way that his hand was pressed up against his own neck. And I think the writers thought that was like a clever thing, but it wasn't.
And the fact that they don't really, no one ever figures that out. Like the doctor in the morgue or whatever explains that, but no one ever puts it together that it was his hand.
Yeah, well, much like the close-up of the dog trainer, the unnecessary, all these things that you think are going to come back and they never do, which is almost charming.
Yeah, it's nice.
Then we get to see the younger detective have a boring interview with Hester. Now, Tom, this is a key moment right here. I think this is it. Yeah, both cops drive to Audrey, where the detective's going to have another dull interview. Now, this is the historic catastrophe scene, right, Tom?
Yeah, I believe so.
Now, listen to this. You watched it on the original VHS, correct?
Yeah.
I feel it's like I'm a lawyer here in court right now. Charlie and I watched it on YouTube, and guess what, Tom? It's different.
Really?
It's fixed. Now, listeners, let's let Tom. You're the most recent person to watch this. Our favorite scene from the movie. Tell us what happens in this car scene.
So there's a shot of the detective in the passenger side, and the car is clearly parked on the curb, and the back door is clearly open, and someone is climbing into it, we could only assume it's some sort of stagehand or somebody helping with the scene, and there's nothing about it that indicates it's an actual live shot of the film. We can only assume it was an outtake of the detective, the actor eating his lunch, and someone was filming it for some reason. And then the next shot is a reverse of the younger detective driving, and the car is moving, clearly moving, and then they cut back to the older detective, and his side is moving too. So something went horribly wrong.
So it went wrong. It was edited incorrectly, and also released on VHS, at least to the copy that you own, and presumably to thousands of other copies. But what's doubly fascinating is that they bothered to fix it. Because this movie has so many problems. It's like, just leave it. But listeners, this is, in the version that Tom watched, this is unbelievable. We're watching two guys in a car. One guy, the car's not moving, and then immediately cut to the other guy, and the car is moving. And not to mention, we see the back door open. Do you see the sound man's face, Tom, or just his legs?
You see somebody. You can see not their full face, but you can see a profile of someone moving around back there.
Unbelievable, Charlie.
And don't they try to dub some lines over Otis? So you see him. He's
he's just eating.
He's just eating. He's chewing, and then they just dub some lines in that clearly aren't coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And he's not acting either at that point.
It does not seem they just had
awesome.
that footage for some reason, and they had to put it in.
Maybe they put it in temporarily and said we'll fix that later because the actual footage is not here.
They
And
were
then
like,
they forgot.
Give it 25 years. See if anyone notices. They read our book, saw the illustration, and then they're like, I'm embarrassed. I got to fix that for the DVD release.
Great that somebody fixed that.
Tom, I'll tell you, it's the only thing I was watching the movie for this time around, and I finished it. And I was like, wait, where's the scene? I went back and watched every scene that involved a car, and I was devastated that it was competently edited.
That is sad.
We questioned everything, including our sanity. It wasn't because I thought that maybe I imagined it better than it was. And then
it's real.
Okay.
Thank God. All right, so now back to the plot. But who knows how rare your version of Play Dead is, Tom?
I think it's Wizard Video.
Wizard Video. Oh, I mean, this is anyone out there who knows details about the alternate versions of Play Dead, contact us through ShockMarathons.com. All right, so then what happens? Our favorite Detective Otis goes into Audrey's for another dull interview.
Nice.
And Audrey fixes some Alka-Seltzer for him. And of course, Greta. Tom's got something to say.
Well, the setup to that is just like he's just sitting there, like he's like grabbing his face, like, oh man, I got this killer headache. I need something. She's like, I got some medicine. He's like, no. Just here, take these pills, drop them in some water for me. It's great.
It's the most dramatic cinema headache in cinema history.
So Audrey fixes the drink and then leaves it unattended just long enough for Greta to go under the sink. Greta is a dog, everybody, mind you. Greta's a dog. Greta grabs like some Drano or some sort of poisonous. Tom.
It's lye. Like, who keeps lye under their sink? It's like, I don't know what it's for, except for decomposing bodies in mob movies. But I don't think you keep it under your sink very often. Possibly.
So it's lye, actually, and we get to watch the great shot where they cut straight to Greta at an angle, holding the bottle and having it pour into the cup, it's fun to imagine what that was like on the set, Charlie. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shots in this movie where they just barely got enough frames to sell the fact that the dog was doing something, or you feel like they kind of like rocked a frame back and forth a little bit to kind of like get an action, or that's a pretty good close up there. I'm not even sure that they didn't try to do some sort of puppet tool or something, like some jaws that they could manipulate.
So the detective drinks it and he dies. Audrey is now crazy. She's led into the ambulance, and Hester's there in the across the street to retrieve Greta and drive off with her. And then Hester's just a horrible person. Greta has done her bidding and done lots of good work for her. And how does Hester repay her? She throws a frisbee off a cliff, and Greta jumps after it and presumably dies. But no, Tom.
No.
Greta climbs up the hill and kills Hester.
That's right.
And I was just like,
get.
Enough. Just kill her already, or I don't care. Just make this end, please. Was what I was thinking. And it's over.
Yeah.
So what? Greta had a change of heart, or had the dove's blood run out, or who knows, and who cares? Like, what is Greta's motivation? She's just mad to have been sent off the cliff, Charlie.
I think so. I think that was being thrown off a cliff is stronger than black magic, and then it leads to being mauled. But
yeah. So that's the movie. That's Play Dead, and it's got TV movie quality to it, like we said, but it's also got like unnecessary nudity. And our only explanation is that whoever hired them to make a TV movie backed out, and they had to change the direction of the production. But it's pretty dull. especially without the car scene. If you're gonna watch this movie, you got to find the Wizard Video VHS original pressing that it contains this error. I didn't like it very much, but I don't regret watching it, and I think that everybody should watch it. Charlie, what are your thoughts?
I love the lounge music, the sort of leisure music. It's just whenever it plays, it's really great. I can't believe I'm watching a horror movie at that point. I think that the filmmakers didn't necessarily want to make a horror movie. And we see this a lot in this kind of budget. They just wanted to like make a movie they could sell.
Yeah.
So they didn't really know what they were doing. They thought like, okay, well, we got to have some deaths, but we got to get like somebody who's written some screenplays who tries to craft these characters. So you've got like a hybrid of a lot of stuff going on here, and we need a star. So let's get this Yvonne De Carlo. If you're a kid, I mean, they probably weren't thinking about the VHS market yet. And you're browsing the stores, like looking at Friday the 13th or The Outing or all these movies. Like,
or
what are you going to get?
Old lady with a dog. Yeah.
Yvonne De Carlo. And then it's like, I'm going to pass right by that. I don't care. But this was, I guess, a little bit before when you need to have a name. So anyway, yeah, I think charming for its ineptness. And
that'd be a good
That's
quote to have on the box cover. Charming for its ineptness. Tom, what are your thoughts on Play Dead?
Yeah, I kind of have a soft spot for it. You know, I like the look of it and the feel of it, and it's just so, yeah, like it's so inept. And it's so amateurish. You know, I like that. I like that.
Very amateurish. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the detective and the younger detective too. I love the scene where he's just standing outside the house, like looking around. Like if you made a movie like that now, like you can't. It's like 2 minutes of film of him just standing there. It's unbelievable. It's just the music. I love, there's just a great feel to it that you can't really understand unless you really witness it that this exists. But I also like the exceptional downbeat tone of it. You know, there's no like real vindication at the end. You know,
Good call, yeah.
the dog takes care of Hester, but Audrey's like in an insane asylum or something. It's not, and nobody really ever figured out that it was Hester doing this. You know, like the detective was dead, and the younger detective kind of just disappeared. So it was just it's pretty down, like a dark ending.
Good call. I can only hope that Greta's next stop is at the police station where she's going to explain to everybody exactly what happened, and maybe that Audrey will be redeemed. So shock memories. Obviously, my only shock memory was the car scene. And I feel that our position in the world as like the people preserving this art is even more made more important by this discovery that we've made, that they're on YouTube. The most easily available version of this movie is wrong. It's wrong, and thank God that Tom in his extensive collection has the right version of Play Dead that features this insanely wrong edit. So that's my only memory of the movie from the first time we saw it, was that, and the rest of it was just whatever. Charlie?
Yeah, it's like they usually when they redo a movie, you're happy, like they remastered it.
Yeah.
This one, it's like they demastered it by taking out the most fun thing.
The only interesting moment. Tom, did you have any other memories from the first time?
I didn't really remember much about it at all, except for I actually remembered some of the slow motion dog killing scenes for some reason. I remembered those, and I was waiting for those. It's really slow scenes that it just really drag on. But I enjoyed it more than I was expecting for such a kind of slow and dull movie.
I don't know what year it came out. I see all sorts of different years, as late as 1985, but it feels more like 1980 or even late 70s. It feels like Boarding House? Is that the one we just did? No, what's the one we did with the girl who rents the room from the she leaves her husband out in the desert. You know that one?
Bloodshed.
Yeah, it had that feel sort of, going on in terms of the era that it's from. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, and the locations too. They kind of felt similar, like little houses in the suburbs, or a pretty big mansion somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, the VHS cover has 1985, but that does not feel like it's 1985.
And the music doesn't feel 1985. That love scene, nothing about it feels 1985. What else?
It's actually though, it's actually Marquee Video. I just got the tape. It's Marquee Video and not Wizard Video, but it actually is 1981 on the video tape itself.
Okay. Which means it could have been shot in 79.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a beautiful cover though. That dog is just leaping out at you right there.
Yeah, the dog's great. I give the dog great acting.
It's actually seems like a very modern, like current times cover or something. It's not dated at all. And that front cover is awesome.
Yeah.
So,
it's pretty cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, look out the Marquee Video version. Is that a big box VHS, Tom?
It was. I have a cut version of it, but yeah, it was a big box.
Classic. Play Dead. What a movie! It's worth seeing for the mistakes and just to endure the dullness. Yeah, go for it, folks. That should be the motto of Shock Marathon.
Endure the dullness.
Yes. All right. Anyone have any final thoughts, or I think we did it.
Yeah, that was fun.
The only thing, it's fascinating to watch these movies like on a quiet afternoon, when you're fully rested and you can really appreciate, what went into it instead of, at like 3 a.m. or something. You're just kind of getting through it. You might not catch every single scene. Like you appreciate something like this, as dull as it kind of is. Like there's a lot of just moments of you're just fascinating. It's good to experience it with a refreshed mind.
Charlie.
Yeah, because it's so dull and the points are sometimes not made well, you have to rewatch it.
Yeah.
So you have to rewatch a good movie sometimes because it's so dense and there's a lot of stuff going on. And there's so little going on that you don't know what's important or what's going to pay off, and you have to watch it a lot too. And I'll take your point. That's true. It's dull, but you gotta watch it closely.
People bothered to set up the cameras and set up the lights and make the dog do things. The sound man bothered to climb into the back seat of that car. And it's our duty to sit back and watch what came of that work. And I'm glad that we could do that. It's just we don't want to know this family drama. The family drama plot was a big mistake. Sending a dog to kill people, that could have been fun, and just drop all the motivations, or give us new motivations, or like Final Exam, give us no motivations. I don't care. Just have a dog killing random people.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in.
I love to use Final Exam as the high water mark for what you should do.
It's true, though.
It's true.
Everything about Final Exam is correct. We're going to cover that one soon, too, folks. What a movie. Thanks for tuning in to Shock Marathons podcast. For Tom and Charlie, this is Matt saying good night.